Folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday live on Twitch, we cover the world of entertainment. We're talking MCU, DCU, all the U's, movies, television, podcasts, online media, everything is content. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like so that the algorithm brings you back and so that you can always be in the know of what's going on in the world of Hollywood. And folks, what's going on in Hollywood right now is unfortunately my least favorite thing to talk about. Can we all say it together, chat? AI. Folks, it is here. TikTok has launched its new Skydance, or sorry, I suppose ByteDance has launched it, not TikTok. But ByteDance has launched Skydance, its new official generative AI model, and it's good, I guess. It's good. Here's a clip. Oh yeah, and for some reason the clip that was generated here is like, you killed Jeffrey Epstein, and it's like, I don't know, but I mean that's crazy. That's crazy. Do you guys remember where we were with AI years ago? With like Will Smith eating spaghetti. Like, when did we get here? This is so frustrating and disturbing. Here's Will Smith eating spaghetti. Wait, you've not heard of the Will Smith eating spaghetti comparison? Hold on. Tangent, important tangent. This is our barometer for how good AI has gotten. Because for some reason, this was like a prompt that people just kept doing. But like, this was Will Smith eating spaghetti in March 2023 to April 2025, that for some reason AI just could not. It was something about like the complexity of the noodles, right? The complexity of generating all of the noodles, but also generating a famous person's face based on things that exist. So Will Smith eating noodles or eating a bowl of spaghetti was like our go-to for some reason. And this is where we at now. This is where we're at now. Will Smith eating spaghetti. But this is Skydance. This is ByteDance, TikTok's original owner before the Ellisons got involved. And this is their model. And like, this is impressive. Like, frankly, this tiny little watermark that my face is hiding here. Hello, there it is, AI generated. That's all we have, right? And here I am covering it up with my face cam. So someone just wandering by could see this and think it is a completely real something. Because it's convincing. It's convincing. And yes, I know that it's bad. I can sit here and objectively tell you, I know that this is bad. As far as action design goes, this is ridiculous. Why is he just blocking every block? Why is it like, this doesn't look good? Okay, I can acknowledge that. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that like, it's gotten good enough that we need to acknowledge this. So SAG-AFTRA, of course, the Actors Guild, has called out ByteDance over this model, saying blatant infringement, this is unacceptable, it undercuts the ability of human talent to earn a livelihood, disregards law, ethics, industry standards, and basic principles of consent. Responsible AI development demands responsibility, and that is non-existent here. And yeah, Chad, I think exactly the point that you're saying is that we have such limited hold on attention right now. In either case, like just stumbling across something like this is just, you could be fooled. You probably have been fooled. How many of us, all right, raise your hand. How many of us were fooled by the rabbits jumping on trampoline? I was. Or how many of us were fooled by the kangaroo, the emotional support kangaroo going into the airport? Thankfully, I was not fooled by that one. But I'm not better than you. Okay, I'm a little bit better than you. I'm just fine. So, ByteDance, because of the enormous amount of information it has from TikTok, I mean, there's like 23 million videos loaded into TikTok a day, and that was prior to them selling off the US version after the lawsuits and everything that happened there. But you have to also consider too that TikTok is a wealth of like illegally uploaded content. I mean, how many movie clips or video clips or entire full-length movies are loaded into that app? I've made the joke before on the stream. The Super Mario Brothers movie, and I will fully admit, chat, the Super Mario movies and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, I saw both of those in its entirety on TikTok. Just because that's how it became available to me. And the app is so fucking mind-grabbing that you sit there and you watch a whole movie and you go, what did I just do? What just happened? I know. And I love the Turtles. More on that later. But Disney is also not standing by against ByteDance with this new Skydance 2 development. So Disney has lobbied an official cease and desist, saying, with pirated library of Disney's copyrighted characters from Star Wars, Marvel, and other franchises, as if Disney's coveted intellectual property were free public domain clip art. Disney's well-publicized objections: ByteDance is hijacking Disney's characters by reproducing, distributing, and creating derivative works featuring those characters. We believe this is just the tip of the iceberg, which is shocking considering Skydance has only been available for a few days, which is true. This AI model is like brand spanking new, and it already has generated so much illegal content. But let's also consider that maybe Disney is not the hero in this case. Because yes, Disney, like SAG-AFTRA, standing up and saying, hey, actually, Skydance, ByteDance, what you're doing ain't cool. We don't stand for it. We don't appreciate. And, you know, Disney has actually stood up against AI before, right? If you remember, back in September, Disney sent a cease and desist over to Character AI, which is an AI model that creates communications based on different characters. Disney sent a cease and desist to Google for its generative AI videos in, Gemini and generative AI in Nano Banana. And what is Gemini's video model? Veo 3 is what they call it now. They keep changing. Do you remember when it was like Bard? It was Bard. Anyways. And last June, Disney joined NBC to sue Midjourney. We covered that here on Movie News Monday. And they've also joined with Warner and Discovery to sue Minimax, another international AI firm. And all of that sounds great in theory, but let's not forget that Disney last year also announced a $1 billion equity investment into OpenAI. So, like, which is it, Disney? Are we just choosing a horse here, right? Like, is that what it is? We're only calling AI disrespectful, and we're only calling AI a blatant disrespect of IP as if it were clip art when it's somebody that you're not putting your dollars into? Like, are we just pretending that OpenAI hasn't been stealing intellectual property and copyright protected images, if not from you specifically, from so many other groups? Like, are you telling me that when Sora launched, which is OpenAI's video generation model, but even before that, just ChatGPT in general, you're telling me that before Disney's investment, they had no training data that existed on their intellectual property? Like, what are we doing here? What are we pretending? So just keep in mind, though we have people like SAG-AFTRA, though we have artists and independent folks coming out and saying, hey, these generative AI models are blatantly disrespectful, and sure, we have major studios coming out and saying that too, they are not without fault. They are not without fault. So Disney has decided that OpenAI has free permission to steal everyone else's work, but nobody else has permission to steal Disney's work. I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. It's crazy that we even have to have these conversations about who gets to steal better. No one should be stealing. Art should be protected. Copyright should be honored. Like, I understand there are distinctions with parody and free use and all this kind of stuff, but when you're talking about these models that are creating derivative works that are being presented as if they're real, from harmless things like bunnies jumping on trampolines to, clips that are parading around as if they're Tom Cruise versus Brad Pitt regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I think about my parents who don't fully understand as much as I try to teach them how disinformation can spread through AI. And I think about children and, especially young children who are just getting acquainted with the internet, and how do we teach them? How do we show them how to interact with this world? Nothing is real. Go to the movie theaters. I guess it's real there for the most part. Well, folks, if you didn't know, Sony Pictures Animations, yes, they did fumble the bag with K-pop Demon Hunters. I think we can all acknowledge that Sony Pictures missed out on a crazy opportunity by not releasing that film in theaters and selling it to Netflix. However, they are doing decently at the box office right now. Their new movie GOAT just premiered, and I've seen some really promising reviews. Frankly, I don't think it's my type of movie. I'm not a big basketball guy, and everything that I've seen from that movie, I'm like, yeah, it looks cute. So maybe I'll see it. It's not on my list. I see some folks in chat are excited about it. But in either case, Sony Pictures is ready to discuss the Spider-Verse a little bit further. So in an interview here with some folks over at Sony Picture, Hollywood Reporter did get them to speak on Spider-Verse. Of course, we can all acknowledge that Into the Spider-Verse basically changed the game in terms of animation. It's huge critical and financial success on top of the fact that it was just stylistically and artistically unlike anything else. Completely changed the game for animation, even to the point where you have Pixar's own Pete Docter talking about the fact that their next movie is going to have 2D animated elements. They're not sticking with their, as folks have begrudgingly called it, the bean, the bean format of Disney Pixar animation. So that being said, though, the latest Spider-Verse release, Across the Spider-Verse, was not without controversy. On top of the fact that the movie is a part 1 of 2, and we are now years away and still haven't received part 2, it did come out following the movie's success that there was a increasing amount of crunch time and difficult working conditions for a lot of the animators. So as incredible and as beautiful as it was, that wasn't, done with the snap of a finger and an AI algorithm, right? These are dozens, if not hundreds of artists working hours and hours to get everything just right. And speaking on the Spider-Verse in this interview, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who are the, as this interviewer puts it, the godfathers of the Spider-Verse, are famous for having a lot of last-minute additions in their storytelling. And as you can imagine, in the world of animation, that creates a lot of difficulties. So this interviewer asked, they drove some animators crazy on the last Spider-Verse because they write the movie until the end of production. Is that straining for people this time around? And I'm not going to lie, there was a little bit of a corporate answer initially from Belson here. Nobody has to work on a show that they don't want to work on. People go through these really difficult crunch times. Everybody wants to be on the most ambitious and exciting shows. Look, I get it, right? Like, I get it. If you're an animator, if you're a filmmaker, if you're a storyteller, to have the opportunity to be a part of a generational piece of media, like, yeah, absolutely, that's exciting. But people also want to go home for dinner, and people want to see their kids, and people want to get, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So, like, let's cool the jets here. Let's cool the jets. But I do like DeFraberville's answer here that actually spoke to what they're doing to address the crunch situations that happen within the world of animation at Sony Pictures. Changes were made to the pipeline after the initial, if you want to call it, whistleblower complaints came out regarding working conditions at Sony Pictures Animated. Changes were made to the pipeline. They brought in a live action director of photography, Alice Brooks, who's been directing camera in a way that allows them to do their animation very differently and very intentionally. Directors and Chris and Phil, the executive producers, have a chance to iterate so much early on in the story and visualize everything before those sequences go into ImageWorks, which is Sony's animation software pipeline. So there's way less changes in theory. And hopefully, we're actually seeing a change in that. Spider-Verse is Beyond the Spider-Verse is set to come out next year. And chat, I see your conversation happening here on the side regarding part 1, part 2 storytelling. Like, yeah, I think that if you're gonna do it, you need to do it right and you need to do it intentionally. I think about films like Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, or even Infinity War and Endgame were released a year apart, right? So like they were very intentionally crafted to be a break intermission story, but giving us enough time to want to see the next part without missing everything that we had just seen. But in either case, I am hopeful to see that Edge of Spider-Verse or Beyond the Spider-Verse sees some improvements. But also, as we're looking ahead, we have heard that there is a Spider-Punk animated movie being worked on by Daniel Kaluuya and his creative partners. However, what maybe has been announced from this interview was a Spider-Gwen spinoff. Belson saying, "I'm not allowed to say, but we are active on both." So there is active development on a Spider-Gwen spinoff, which you might have seen as the big headline here, that there's a Spider-Gwen movie in the works. Yes, that is exciting, and it would be fun to delve more into that world. Obviously, I'm a big fan. Here, what sits on my desk and y'all don't always get to see. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Spider-Verse here, right? Like this is one of my prides and joys here on my desk, is all our Spider-Verse friends here. So I'm very excited to see more and delve more into this world, but I'm also a fan of work-life balances, even in the worlds of the arts. So what really stood out more to me in this story was the announcement that changes are being made to reduce crunch time in Sony animations. So look, I would love to see a Spider-Gwen movie. I think it's great. I think it's a character that clearly has gotten a lot of love. And although it is sad to see, and this is me putting like my comic Spider-Man nerd hat on, like it is sad to see that another character has exited the world of they never get to come back to life. There was classic comics storytelling is, there's characters that never come back to life. Like, Uncle Ben always stays dead. Bucky Barnes always stays dead, and Gwen Stacy always stays dead. And obviously Bucky Barnes came back, and now Gwen Stacy's back, and she's clearly being folded into the main universe, which is fine. Spider-Gwen is great and interesting, but Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, or whatever you want to call her, I think is most interesting when she exists within her own world, which is the world that was created for her comic book, which we get to see a little bit of in Beyond the Spider-Verse. So anyways, I digress. If y'all remember, at the top of the year, I made 26 predictions to go on for what's going to happen in 2026. And can we just call this one good? Can we just call this one good, that Warner Bros. Is just getting started? Because I initially, when we ended 2025, it seemed as though, okay, Netflix won. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. But here we are, where Warner Brothers Discovery is looking to renew its conversations with Paramount Skydance. Maybe we can't call it just yet, but it looks like Warner Brothers Discovery is going to consider Paramount's latest bid. Because, hey, ninth time is the charm. What? You're telling me that a studio that's now being run by the Ellisons, close personal friends of the Trump administration, like the idea of negging and continuously asking again and again until a no turns into a yes? What? You're telling me the studio run by the guy that wants to turn his studio into the Dude Bro studio and greenlight movies directed by sexual predator and rapist Brett Ratner doesn't take no for an answer? What? Look, if I'm going to sit here and talk about how I think animators deserve to go home and eat dinner with their kids, I think that any filmmaker deserves to go to set and not be worried that there's a fucking predator running their set, okay? Director, producer, studio head, etc. So, I'm just going to get that out there. And sorry, I'm a little sleep deprived and I was stuck in a car for like 5 hours today, so the filter's off a little bit. However, I think that's fair of me to say, okay? Regardless, here we go. Paramount is at it again, and now with their ninth offer, they have upped with a premium ticketing fee that basically gives the shareholders an extra $650 million. And this is being considered. So look, the main headline that you're going to see is, oh my gosh, Warner Brothers is actually maybe considering Paramount. But let's actually look at the details here and understand it a little bit better. This sale is going to be complicated. If it's not for the fact that obviously the FTC is going to be involved, Congress is looking at this, the president has an interest in this, everybody wants a piece of the pie here in regards to Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers, of course, one of the oldest remaining studios from old Hollywood, over 100 years old, responsible for Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and so many other incredible things that you've come to know and love, including having one of the most successful 2025s with Superman, Weapons, Sinners, Hello. So rather than sticking independent and sticking to its guns, it is an extremely cash negative business. And because of that, Discovery wants to unmerge and Discovery wants to sell. So what is expected to happen is that if Warner Brothers Discovery goes on to accept Netflix's initial agreement, there will likely be a lawsuit. The shareholders will probably come together and try and sue to say that this was an unjust deal. And to make their lawsuit go as easy as possible, the board of directors at Warner Brothers needs to consider every offer, including offers that are technically more cash positive. So that is why Warner Brothers is taking this deal to the table and actually considering it. It is unclear if Paramount's revised offer will change the timetable. Netflix, per their agreement, has the right to match any offer that comes in. We know that Netflix has exercised this agreement with whether it was the 7th or the 8th offer that Paramount submitted. Netflix adjusted their offer rather than being a combination of cash and Netflix stock. It changed it to a full cash offer. So will Netflix up their bid one more time? It's very possible, but look, this is far, far, far from over. Paramount really wants Warner Brothers. And I think that the reasons are clear. If it's not for the fact that IP filmmaking is very important, if it's not for the fact that streaming services like HBO Max are very important, it's for the fact that, CNN is very important, and broadcast media and broadcast news is very important. As we're sitting here talking the story, we can think about what's happened with CBS over at Paramount, and I'm just noticing this little box here about Anderson Cooper exiting CBS in 60 Minutes, right? So we know what happens when studios with specific corporate interest and specific millionaire, billionaire interests get involved. And look, we've come to a place where Netflix seems to be the champion for wanting to create more opportunities and wanting to have this be a greater opportunity for shareholders and creatives and the industry for film. And Paramount seems to be very interested in consolidating the news arm and serving the interests of a specific agenda that their new owner has. So look, as a certified Netflix hater, I'm rooting for Netflix, okay? I'm rooting for Netflix. honestly, I'm rooting for Warner Brothers. I want them to go, actually, we're going to win Best Picture for Sinners, independent movie that Warner Brothers created all on its own. Why can we just send that? Can we just send that and say we're going to be okay? Moving on, Jack Schaefer moves on over to Amazon MGM. Now look, Jack Schaefer is an incredible talent, and let's take a moment and look past AI and look past corporate consolidation and just celebrate a win here for a really talented artist. So Jack Schaefer, you may know her as the writer, creator, showrunner of WandaVision, Marvel Studios' first entry into the world of television. Jack Schaefer also then took that and spun it off into Agatha All Along, which is absolutely the most slept on Disney Plus Marvel show. I will say it once and I will say it a million times, if you fell off of the MCU and you need something to get you back in, the WandaVision Agatha All Along double feature, phenomenal. 2 little miniseries that you'll have a great time with. Jack Schaefer has exited her deal from Marvel Studios, Disney, and 20th Television, and is now going to be signing a development deal over at Amazon MGM Studios. She will write, develop, executive produce, and direct original series for Prime Video and Prime Amazon MGM. So she's moving over to a different land. Hopefully that means that she gets the opportunity to create some more original IP, or perhaps take on something else that Amazon's working with. Amazon has Lord of the Rings. Amazon has the James Bond franchise. Amazon's got a lot of stuff that they're working with. So who knows? But Schaefer, as I mentioned, created WandaVision, created Agatha All Along. Jack Schaefer also took part in writing Black Widow, and her most recent work will be directing the pilot for the Disney Plus Holes series, which I'm just finding out exists. So if you like Shia LaBeouf, get ready for this. So Holes is getting a Disney Plus remake TV show, which Jack Schaefer was involved in, which, hey, you know, I like Jack. So we'll see, hoping all the best for her. Again, I think WandaVision is an incredible love letter to storytelling and love in general. What is grief if not love persisting? So good. And Agatha All Along is just an incredible fun ride and an awesome example of like a creator who had an idea and like for no reason should it have worked, and for no reason nobody was asking for an Agatha Harkness spin-off, and it ended up being one of the best things that's come out of Marvel television. So cheers to you, Jack Schaefer. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Whatever it is, it's on the list. We'll be watching. We've talked about the rise and fall of this franchise and this story in particular, but longtime viewers of Movie News Monday will know that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were going to return in an R-rated The Last Ronin movie. It was set to be a live-action adaptation of The Last Ronin, which was a sort of Elseworlds post-apocalyptic dystopian world of the TMNT, where a single turtle survived and was basically a samurai walking through the town, and we were gonna get a live action version of this. So it was set to be an R-rated, gruesome, sort of John Wick-esque style Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that was gonna satisfy all the adult fans who have been very patiently waiting to get something else in the world of TMNT that felt like spoke to us. Not to give any disservice to Mutant Mayhem or some of the other animated series that have existed, but the Turtles have been around for a long time, and the adult fans have sort of stayed hungry for quite some time. That being said, what we have learned from Collider is that the original April O'Neil, Judith Hoag from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like classic 1980s movies, was approached to return as April O'Neil in the R-rated Last Ronin film. She told Collider, "I've been approached and I'd be happy. It would be a great bookend for me, and maybe that happens and maybe it doesn't. We'll see." So unfortunately, The Last Ronin was was canceled and is no longer moving forward. You know, maybe it's just taking a little bit of a brief hiatus while Paramount gets the TMNT back on track, because they have some big plans. Paramount is going all in on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a staple in their young audience entertainment. Paramount obviously is under new leadership for Skydance, and they have a very clear vision as to what they want their sort of voice to be in the world of entertainment. And one of the things that they are doubling down on is the Turtles. They're saying it's an underused IP, and they got some big plans. So on top of canceling The Last Ronin, which would have been a rated R adults focused story, they are bringing the Turtles back to their younger audiences. The Turtles' adventures through products and experiences enable consumers to embark on their own journey. So with that, we are now getting the Teeny Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we went from having an R-rated Turtles movie into basically what they're calling a Spidey and His Amazing Friends, but for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Debuting on YouTube, interestingly enough, as well as 2 different book adaptations for the TMNT with Splinter's Dojo and a novelization of The Last Ronin. And Paramount also is doubling down with the toy lines as well, announcing a multi-year licensing agreement with Mattel. And most interestingly, the company said it will open up Ninja Turtle-themed pizzerias in Santa Monica, Mexico, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we're going to be getting some Chuck E. Cheese styled TMNT restaurants. So, hey, we won't get a cool rated R movie. We won't get a cool love letter to the original, 1980s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, but we can get some pizzas. We can get some pizzas. Look, I'm not gonna talk out of my ass all the way here. We are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, it's absurd, and it's like the perfect type of stories that kids love. So, it's complicated. It's complicated for sure. But look, they're doubling down to establish this as a more child-friendly franchise, and maybe that's what it needs right now. And hopefully that's a pipeline to lead them to get excited, and maybe they get a Last Ronin adaptation in 20 years. Oh, if Paramount even exists 20 years from now. The Mummy 4 gets its release date. That's right, folks. Friend of the stream, Brendan Fraser, is do I get to call him that now? I think I get to call him that now, right? So folks, friend of the stream, Brendan Fraser, look, there we are hanging out. It's just me and my buddy. He wanted me to be there when he was getting his Outstanding Achievement in Cinema award. So I'm glad I could be there for my friend. But friend of the stream, Brendan Fraser, is returning to the Mummy franchise, and we officially have a release date for May of 2028. I am so ecstatic about this. I love the Mummy franchise. The first Mummy and Mummy Returns was like maybe a bi-monthly, like every other month we would have a double feature at my house growing up with those movies. Incredible. I constantly point at those movies as like quintessential like fantasy action movies. So great. But Academy Award winners Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are returning for The Mummy 4. We have directors with Matt Bettolini-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who you may know from the Ready or Not franchise, are going to be directing the movie. Directors who are well-rooted in the horror franchise, kind of fun to know. And we now have a theatrical release set for May 19th of 2028, so just a couple years away. Right now, the only competition that The Mummy has is Untitled Marvel Studios project and Untitled Walt Disney Pictures release. So, no reason to assume that The Mummy wouldn't move would move its date. Maybe it's going to be okay there as a big summer blockbuster, but this is going to be our first look into the franchise since The Mummy 3, which came out, in 2008? However, Rachel Weisz did not return for that 2008 sequel, so we can just all kind of forget it. We can just all kind of forget that it happened. And The Mummy is coming, of course, from Universal Studios. The Mummy trilogy, which will now be a quadrilogy, I guess. But the original Mummy movies are technically a reboot of the original Universal's Monsters Mummy. If you don't remember, too, we did technically have a reboot of The Mummy come out starring Tom Cruise. Yes, let that re-enter your mind. Back when Universal Studios was looking to create their version of the MCU with the Dark Universe, which they promptly canceled after the one Mummy movie with Tom Cruise just did not succeed. So we're saying, hey, forget that third movie that people didn't love. Forget this reboot that completely failed. And let's just get back to the thing that people want to see, which is Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz giving us those looks. The film is also being written by David Kogshaw, who, frankly, I'm not super familiar with his repertoire and his filmography. He has some experience writing horror-adjacent movies, so again, it looks like we might be seeing the writers and directors attached to this, we might be leaning on some little bit of a spooky storytelling here, which could be fun. Could be a slightly new modern direction to take these movies in. However, I just hope we don't lose that sense of adventure and fun and action that The Mummy has. So what is your quintessential nostalgic action franchise? Because for me, it's the Mummy and Indiana Jones is pure nostalgia for me. It just let me get in the sand and fight some bad guys, right? That's what I grew up on. That's the fun that I like having. But definitely don't think that those type of movies get made the same way today. So it would be interesting to see it, grow up a little bit more, and see what that kind of turns into. And we'll see. So, hey, one more time, shouts out to friend of the stream, Brendan Fraser. Hey, Brendan, good for you, man. Good for you, man. That glowing smile, both of us. Gosh, we were just so happy to be there for each other. Love is in the air, folks, and specifically rom-coms are back. That's right, Chicken Shop Date Amelia Dimoldenberg is going to be essentially writing a biopic about her and Andrew Garfield's love story, because we know it's true. We know it's real. That chemistry cannot be denied. So, Amelia Dimoldenberg, if you don't know, how dare you, go watch Chicken Shop Date right now. She is an incredible comedian, interviewer, icon, in a show that, similar to Hot Ones, right, where the premise is you're sitting around eating chicken wings, but in this case it's chicken nuggets. And it's just a fun sort of offbeat style comedy interview series. And she is going to be developing a movie, a romantic comedy with Amazon MGM's Orion Pictures. Dimoldenberg will star and produce. She will star as a by-the-book journalist whose carefully planned life unravels when a routine celebrity interview unexpectedly turns into a romance that makes her question everything she believes about love. Come on! It's perfect! It's perfect! Now, what I'm referencing here, if you don't know, is that Amelia and Andrew Garfield, yes, that Andrew Garfield, have done a lot of red carpet interviews together, and they have an undeniable chemistry. They're both British, they're both funny and a little bit quirky, and everyone constantly jokes about the fact that they totally need to get together. And they did finally have Andrew Garfield on an episode of her show, which was just... Look, I don't know how much of it was played up for the show, but it is we came out of watching that and we were are they already dating? What's happening? But her new rom-com, it's going to be written by Sarah Hayward, and it, I believe, already has a director attached. No, not yet. No director attached yet. But Sarah Hayward, who will write the script, has experience working on Girls, as well as the currently like super successful Anyone But You series there. So yeah, Tension 101 chat, 100%. So, you know, this has all the makings to be a completely successful thing, and I'm super excited, and definitely will be putting this on the list for sure. If they aren't dating, I can't wait to see her write, because the chemistry was real. Exactly. And, you know, I think that this has the makings to just be a really fun, like, you know, Charlie XCX The Moment style. Like, is this real? Is this not real? I can't tell anymore. So that'll be very fun to see come to life. And I'm excited the rom-coms are back. We need more comedies in the movie theater. Now, if you're hearing Orion Pictures and you go, why do I vaguely recognize that? Well, hey, Orion Pictures is actually the independent arm of Amazon MGM Studio. And you might be asking, Jupiter, what the hell is the independent arm of a major studio? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Last night was the Film Independent Spirit Awards, which, if you don't know what it is, Film Independent Spirit Awards is a ceremony that honors the independent world of cinema. So indie movies or independent movies are movies that are, you know, in its original definition, films that are created by independent artists. They are not backed by major studios. They are not, you know, being paid to develop these movies. These are filmmakers and storytellers who had a vision, had an idea, and said, I'm going to make this movie. And the definition of independent movies has changed a lot over the years. So the Film Independent Awards just happened yesterday, and we had a lot of winners, and don't worry, we're going to talk about some of these winners. But it really got me thinking about what is an independent film these days. You know, we think about some of the most recent successful artists that have come out of the world of independent cinema, and one that comes to mind very recently is, of course, Sean Baker. Sean Baker, who won the Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director and Best Writer and Best Editor and Best Everything for his movie. Oh no, chat, this is where the sleep deprivation is kicking in. Anora. Sean Baker for his movie Anora. He also made Tangerine and The Florida Project, and he recently just made a short film with Michelle Yeoh. But folks were asking Sean Baker, well, what are you trying to do now following the success of Anora? And they've been asking, well, are studios hitting you up? So, of course, you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, Universal Studios, Paramount, Disney, probably not Disney, are knocking on your door now that you're a Best Picture winner. And he said, I was offered development deals, but I very much want to make my films independently. We are making our film independently so that I can retain full control in terms of everything from casting to content, and not even have to take one note, because that drives me up a wall. It's like, why? So that's really what the heart of independent film and independent cinema is, right? It's being able to create the content that you want to create and not be specifically beholden to what a studio wants you to make. But now we live in a world where even the independent studios or the independent movies have like characters in the world of independent film, right? You think about A24 makes independent movies. The Moment, How to Make a Killing, Mother Mary, all these other films, Marty Supreme. These are all independent movies, but it's also A24, who's one of the biggest studios in the world of cinema right now, and they're a brand in and of itself. I mean, they sell merch, they have a subscription service. Like, how is this independent, right? Or you think about Neon, who's right now promoting Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, but also is running Surat, which is a international film Best Picture contender. No Other Choice, which is Jupiter's official best film of 2025. The Secret Agent, which is running everywhere. Sentimental Value, it was just an accident. All of these films that are super huge in the awards conversations. And again, they also sell merch, and they also are recognizing the global market as a really valued distributor. So how do these studios that are like big considered independent these days, especially when you talk about like the big studios, like we were just talking about? Amazon MGM has Orion. So Orion Pictures, yes, it puts out films like Nickel Boys, it puts out films like Hedda, like Till, small independent seeming auteur style movies, but these are all technically Amazon movies. Or Searchlight Pictures, which is 20th Century and now Disney's arm of the independent movie, doing smaller films like The Roses or Black Swan, A Real Pain, A Complete Unknown. Focus Features, which is Universal's arm of independent movies, which just announced Girls Like Girls, which looks really great, just putting that on the list, and is also running Hamnet right now for Best Picture. Song Sung Blue, Girls Like Girls, Begonia, right? Dream Studio, absolutely. But this Dream Studio, it's not just this tiny little thing. This is Universal Pictures. This is The Mummy. This is The Minions, right? This is a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Exactly. It's like food brands. It all comes down to a parent company that does something else. And the last one I'll shout out here is, of course, Sony Pictures Classic, which yes, it's Sony who does Spider-Man, who does K-pop Demon Hunters, but they also do A Private Life and Blue Moon and Nuremberg, right? So they're everywhere. So what even is an independent movie this day? What is a movie that gets recognized by the Film Independent Spirit Awards that can be categorized as an indie film? Well, I looked it up because they have it listed in their FAQ. And these days, what is considered as an independent movie? Well, independent movies are considered to the following guidelines: uniqueness of vision, originality, provocative subject matter, diversity on camera and behind the camera, and economy of means. So films that are made with an economy of means and are fully financed by a studio or an indie studio division may still be considered independent if the subject matter is original and provocative. In other words, Film Independent does not, as of 1994, define independent strictly on the basis of financing. Yeah. If you're confused, I'm confused. So even the people who are rewarding independent cinema recognize that independent cinema no longer means independent cinema. Independent movies are just kind of like vibes. Like if you have the vibes of being an indie movie, you're an indie movie. So basically it's the same thing as indie music at this point, which I didn't think that's where we were, but I guess that's where we are. So, there are still actual independent movies being made and actual independent filmmakers. And a lot of these movies that we just mentioned and a lot of these studios or studio arms that we just mentioned don't always play the role of being the actual studio or the actual production studio. So, a lot of these movies are made independently and they go to festivals. So you often hear about Cannes or TIFF or Sundance or any of these other festivals. A lot of times what you'll do is you'll have filmmakers create something originally, submit them to these festivals, and then these studios or these distributors more specifically will purchase the rights for the films and say, here you go, this is an A24 movie, this is a Neon movie. And a lot of filmmakers get their success like that. Specifically, talking about Sean Baker, his movie Anora going to Neon was a purchase deal, was a here you go, this feels right type of situation. But we do also now live in a time where A24 is a studio that has been successful enough as a distributor that they can just say, actually, we'll greenlight our own movies. Now, there are some other parameters when it comes to the Film Independent Spirit Awards, which is also budget. So $30 million seems to be the cutoff for independent cinema at the Independent Film Awards. But they do also have specific awards that are geared towards micro budget movies. So if you make a movie for less than $1 million, there is a specific award that you can be recognized for, which is the John Cassavetes Award. So, you know, if you're truly independent, there actually is a way to be recognized for it. But let's talk about what happened with the Independent Spirit Awards. Now, this award show actually aired on YouTube, which if you want to get a picture of what the Oscars will look like in a few years, you can take a look there. It was great. There was no ad breaks. It flowed really, really well. You could pause and come back to it. I actually can't wait to see the Oscars on YouTube after watching this. But the big runaway winners here was Train Dreams, which isn't really getting a lot of conversation in the Academy Awards conversations, but it's a movie I've seen, and I saw that movie, and though it wasn't particularly my cup of tea and I didn't love it, it did stand out as a very good, a very, very nice film and very nice story. And I think in this setting where you're recognizing other indie films, it made sense to me that this walked away with a lot of the prizes. Train Dreams is technically in the Best Picture race. However, it is not in the Best Director race, which Clint Bentley did walk away with. Another thing to point out here, lead performance at the Indie Spirit Awards went to Rose Byrne. Of course, we all know that Jessie Buckley from Hamnet is sort of our lock-in winner right now, but hey, Rose Byrne is maybe going to have some legs, pun fully intended, in this race. Best International Film went to The Secret Agent, which of course is the frontrunner in that category and may also be the frontrunner for the Best Actor category up against Timothée Chalamet. And Best Documentary went to Netflix's The Perfect Neighbor, which they have been running everywhere. And it might give us some insight into who might walk away with the documentary win this year. So that was it for the Film Independent Spirit Awards. And again, it just kind of opened my eyes to realizing that independent movies nowadays are really just vibes based. Which is why I love seeing, actual independent, independent movies going around and like self-distributing and self-funding. You know, I think about Markiplier's movie Iron Lung, which was fully self-financed and fully self-distributed with individual deals made with distributors. I keep getting very specific targeted ads for there's a specific group of creators who made a movie. They were like TikTokers who made their own studio and just released a movie. Yes, Creator Camp is another one, an independently funded studio that's actually independent. Two Sleepy People is the one that I keep getting advertisements for. And yes, absolutely, we will shout out Blind Cop 2, another truly independent movie, which friends of the stream put together and are still touring around the country. If you haven't seen Blind Cop 2 or haven't heard about Blind Cop 2, let me put you on it because it is great. You know what, y'all? Watch Blind Cop 2. That's going to be our final message from Movie News Monday. But folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. I'll leave this loop in the background. I know, I'm so sad I missed the screening here in town. But folks, thank you so much for watching Movie News Monday. If you don't know, we do this live on Mondays. That's why it's called Movie News Monday over on twitch.tv/JuperGorg. So make sure you stop by, hit a follow so you know when we go live. We don't only do the news, we also watch trailers, have some fun discussions. We hang out, we have a great time, and sometimes we go live outside on Mondays. I don't know. You're going to have to follow to find out. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like, give that subscribe button some love so that you know next time we go live or with a new video. Leave a comment. Let me know what stories or what subjects you want me to cover. And if you ever want to catch us in short form, TikTok, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Folks, I am running on the whisper of sleep. I have not slept. I am quite tired. It was a long day, but I appreciate y'all hanging out. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I'll see you at the movies. Goodbye. Goodbye, Chad. Goodbye.